It's my great privilege to introduce to you our graduation speaker, Senator Scott Wagner. Senator Scott Wagner was first elected to the State Senate in March 2014 to represent the citizens of York County. He won this special election with a write-in campaign and carried the day with a 2-to-1 margin. In November 2014, the voters of York County re-elected him to a full 4-year term. Senator Wagner was born and raised on a farm in York Township. Here he started his first small business at the age of 20 and is currently the president and owner of the successful York-based Penn Waste and KBS Trucking in Thomasville, Pennsylvania. His top priorities as a Pennsylvania senator are bringing fiscal responsibility to state government, controlling property taxes, and protecting and defending constitutional freedoms. Wagner serves as the chair of the Senate Urban Affairs and Housing Committee and sits on the influential Appropriations Committee. In mid-January of this year, Senator Wagner loaned $889,000 to a charter school in York. Speaking on the Senate floor, Senator Wagner said, quote, "Once again, I am loaning money to the Helen Thaxton Charter School in York, which is owed $3.6 million by the state because they continue to be held hostage and cannot make payroll," end quote. Scott Wagner has been one of the strongest supporters of school choice, charter schools, and cyber charter schools in the Pennsylvania Senate. Please welcome to our graduation ceremony, Senator Scott Wagner.
This is a very special day. This is a great day because you graduate today. And tomorrow, your lives enter a whole new phase. You know, I put together a lot of remarks. I've worked on it the last couple days, but I have to tell you that Samantha and Matthew, you mentioned that your words may be forgotten. I'm going to ask something of both of you. I would like you to send me your remarks, because I'm going to tell, I have a notebook where I collect speeches. You know, I have some commencement speeches and I have phrases, and I want to put your remarks in my book. It's great to be here. And Jim, thank you for the kind introduction. You know, it's interesting. Pennsylvania Leadership Charter School. Pennsylvania, a great state. Leadership, very, very key in today's world. And I think we may have some future leaders here. I see it, I can smell it. And I commend the students and what you have accomplished. And I will tell you that I had the opportunity to visit your campus at Westchester a few weeks ago for an event with Dan Truitt. And I tell you, I left with a completely different impression. And I am just so impressed by the talent that is in this room. And while it's a special day for you, it's also a special day for me because this is my very first commencement address. So this is a big deal. So it's an honor. It's an honor for me to come here and address all of you and parents and friends. And I'm going to apologize real quickly. I have to leave to catch a flight. I have a political event in Pittsburgh, so I will not be staying around for the full event, and I really wish I could. But, you know, preparing for my remarks today gave me an opportunity to use a leadership book that I have been putting together for over 30 years, and that's the book I would like to put your remarks in. As graduates, tomorrow you will enter the next phase of your life, and you are from a very talented and bright generation. In most instances, your childhood has been very different than the childhood of your parents. And it's sort of hard to believe that I'm standing here. I graduated from high school in 1973, and here we are 43 years later, and I just think about how time has passed. So, graduates, you have a 60-year-old guy up here that's going to throw some quotes and sort of pieces of wisdom out, and I hope that I'm optimistic that maybe one of 20 might resonate, and it's something you may use in the future. The world you're about to enter has many challenges, and it has many, many opportunities. The internet has changed the world. Everything is at lightning speed, and I can tell you the speed that I have seen in the last 5 years and 2 years has been amazing. And here's a fact, and I've learned this over the years. No matter how smart you think you are or how smart you are, there are a lot of people somewhere else who are a lot smarter than you, and this is called competition. No matter how hard you work or how hard you think you are working, there are a lot of people who are working harder than you, and this is called competition. Now, I talk about working hard, but I also have learned over the years, work smart also. You're about to enter the world of competition, and there are billions of smart young people in the world. Many of these young people come from a world of poverty. Many of their parents want their children to have a better life than they have, so therefore many of the parents did everything they could in their power to make sure that their children had the best education that their world allowed. Many of these young people from another part of the world will be the new competition that you will face. I'm going to throw two words out, and I'm sure you've had to have heard these, but the first two words are work ethic. And remember the phrase work ethic, because there will be times that it will be the difference between success and failure. There's another word called determination, and determination is also a word that will determine the difference between success and failure. I can tell you, graduates, as I look around, and there's 197 of you here today, but I can tell you that I started my first business enterprise almost 40 years ago, and I have learned a lot. I most likely have made more mistakes in my life so far that are equal to all of the mistakes that you have made so far in your life. So I've learned, and unfortunately some of my mistakes have been costly. So my message is learn, continue to learn every day. I learn 5 or 10 new things every single day. I mentioned I graduated in 1973, and the last 43 years have been an absolute blur. Remember this very important fact, and you will notice your watch is going to change tomorrow. It's going to go faster. Time is precious. And remember, it seems like maybe, up from the day you were born up until 18, your watch went slower. Well, I can tell you, as you get older and you sort of go through the 5 and 10 year steps of your life, it flies by. So, make every day count. Don't count the days. And I mentioned, for most of my business career, I have a leadership book, so I have been, collecting quotes. And I will tell you that these quotes have been helpful throughout my business career and personal life. And I can assure you that people that I work with, my Senate colleagues, my friends, my family hear many of the quotes regularly. And here's some of the samples from my quote collection. And this came from a Navy admiral who addressed a graduation class 2 years ago. And I think it's a great quote, and obviously it comes from a military background. If you make your bed every morning, you will have accomplished the first task of the day. It will give you a small sense of pride and will encourage you to do another task and another and another. By the end of the day, that one small task will have turned into many tasks completed. Making your bed will also reinforce the fact that little things matter. Matthew, you talked about stories, and everyone has a story. And another quote that I came upon, and this was from a gentleman in the Middle East who was the CEO of Coca-Cola. And his advice to a graduating class was never eat alone. If you have an opportunity in a cafeteria or somewhere in a setting and you're sitting alone or someone else is sitting alone, you have the opportunity to maybe meet someone new. And maybe you will learn someone else's story. Everyone, and I do believe this, everyone has a story. So Matthew, your point was right on target. Maintain and build your relationships and always be open to meeting new people and learning from them. I was on ask.com yesterday, and I was looking at another commencement speech, but in the average person's lifetime, you will meet 10,000 people. So over a period of your lifetime, the 197 graduates in this room today, you'll meet 3 million people. Now, I meet more, in my world, in my business world, and my Senate world, I meet a lot of people. And I ask a lot of questions, and I learn something new every day, and I think it's very cool to learn other people's stories. So learn something new every day. You're either growing or you're losing ground. There's no standing still. So here are some quotes that I'm going to run through, and this is an Abraham Lincoln quote. Things may come to those who wait, but only the things left by those who hustle. That's another word. I like hustle. It's in my world. I tell my sales reps, let's get out in the street and hustle. This is a quote by Henry David Thoreau. Success usually comes to those who are too busy looking for it. And here's one from Thomas Jefferson. I'm a great believer in luck, and I find the harder I work, the more of it, the more I have of it. And here's a Margaret Thatcher quote. Look at a day when you're supremely satisfied at the end. It's not a day when you lounge around and do nothing. It's when you've had everything to do and you've done it. Here's a Thomas Edison quote. Opportunity is missed by most people because it is dressed in overalls and looks like work. Now, you're probably not going to wear overalls, but my father and the older generation, grandparents and parents, we understand it. And here's a George Bernard Shaw quote. When I was young, I observed that 9 out of 10 things I did were failures. So I did 10 times more work. And these are quotes that I don't have the author, but I've been collecting these for 30 years. The pessimist complains about the wind. The optimist expects it to change. The leader adjusts the sails. Be willing to take risks. You can't learn to swim by exercising on the beach. I like that. And this is another Henry David Thoreau, and I have observed this, with people, and you know what? I think it might even be appropriate to the Senate. It doesn't matter how fast you're going if you're going in the wrong direction. Okay? And I have a wise friend, very successful friend. And one day we were having a conversation, and we're just talking about, he was talking about his sons and a project, and he said, I keep telling my sons, never give up. You never know when you are 3 feet from the vein of gold. And see, these are some of my own business quotes that I've put together. I've heard them and I've maybe massaged them a little bit, but they are very appropriate in my world. If it didn't happen in writing, it didn't happen. I tell my people that work within my company, and we really never have this problem, but they get the message, but I tell my children this. A lack of planning on your part does not constitute an emergency on my part. And that would be my one daughter, okay? Dad. And here's the gentleman by the name of Buckminster Fuller has a quote, you never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. Here's one that I use in my business, and I'm trying to get the Senate and the House and state government to work on this one. If it doesn't get measured, it can't be managed. And as a state senator, here is my favorite quote for Harrisburg and our state government. And this is from Rear Admiral Grace Hopper. The most dangerous phrase in the language is, we've always done it that way. And I hear that all the time. I will tell you, it's been an honor for me to speak today, and I want to leave you with my favorite quote. For the last 30 years, I've been in the waste business, and I have mostly competed against 2 or 3 large, publicly traded waste companies. So I have been in the competition pit every single day, and I love competition. And all of the quotes that I shared with you today have one way or another applied to and have been a part of my success. But here's my favorite quote. Every morning somewhere in the world, a gazelle wakes up. It knows that it must run faster than the fastest lion or it will become lunch. Every morning in Africa or somewhere in the world, a lion wakes up. It knows that it must outrun the slowest gazelle or it's not going to have lunch that day and will starve. So it doesn't matter whether you are a lion or a gazelle. When the sun comes up, you had better be running. Okay? So, graduates, parents, friends, faculty, everyone here, congratulations to our graduates, and it's been an honor for me to be here. And I wish you all the success and prosperity in life. Thank you.